This tutorial is about creating an iMovie on the iPad. More specifically, it's about adding images that you have saved on your camera roll, recording your own voice over those images, and then finally, how to save that movie so that you can share it with your teacher. To begin with, you're going to open iMovie. From there, you're going to press the plus sign to create a project. There you have a choice between a movie and a trailer. I'm going to recommend that you choose movie. Trailers can be pretty cool, but they have a built-in template, so you're locked into that template and you don't have as much freedom to create things as you would like. So select the movie, and from there you're going to choose a template. Now you can look at these various templates and you can play them to see what they do. Once you have one you like, simply press the Create button in the upper right-hand corner. Now on the bottom of your screen is the movie timeline. So this is where your images and your sound are going to go. If your screen does not look exactly like mine, look for the word media to insert photos, video, and audio that you might already have saved. On my screen, I'm going to go to Photos so that I can see the photos that I have. Now, I could go to All and see every photo that's saved on my iPad, or I know that most of the things I wanted are recently added because I just added them for this particular project. So if I go to my recently added, it's going to show you pictures that I've saved for my project. I simply need to select the picture and it's going to add it to the timeline. Now this particular one looks a little bit strange, but I chose this on purpose. I went out into Google Images and searched for a black background, and this is one I found that I liked. This is going to allow me to put my title on here, and so I wanted to put my title on a more plain background rather than over the top of a picture. Now once I have a picture in, I can simply go to another picture and select it and it will drop it in the timeline. If I decide that I want a picture in a different order, I can simply drag it around on my screen and it will show up in a different order. Notice that it's telling me at the end of the pictures how much time it's taking up so far. And then I can simply continue to add my pictures in, and again, if I need to, I can hold my finger down and move those around. This white line that's showing up on the bottom is where the next picture will be added. So if you notice, before I had it here, so the new picture went in front of that. So I can add it here, and then I can add my next image. Now to change how long an image is on the screen, if I click on the image, it will tell me at the top of the picture and the top of the screen how many seconds that image is going to be on my movie. At this point, you may not know how long you need these to be on there, so you could just record, or if you are pretty sure you're going to need more time, you could adjust these. So once I've selected the picture, you notice it gets a yellow border around it, and then I can just hold my finger at the end and drag it out and it becomes longer. So now that picture was at 5.8 seconds, it's now at 7.9 seconds. And if I scroll to another picture and tap it, it's at 4 seconds, and if I hold down the yellow and drag it over, I can drag it over to however much time I would like. The other things that these pictures do, which you may or may not like, there's something called a Ken Burns effect that's enabled. And what that means is that the picture zooms in a little bit on certain parts, or it almost looks like it's moving. So for example, I have this particular one chosen, you can see, because I have yellow around it. And in the bottom of the picture, it has a Ken Burns enabled. And if I click on the top arrow, it'll say this is where it's starting. So when this picture shows up, that's what it's going to look like. And then it's going to move until it gets to that. Well, I personally don't really like this. So I could take off the Ken Burns enabled, or I can pinch with my fingers to make sure I can see the whole saying so it's not cut off. And then if I wanted to, and I clicked where the end is, it looks like now that I can only see the bottom here, so it almost looks like it's moving. And I can show that as we go through and do an example, you can see how that moves. So you might want to check that with your pictures, because either take the Ken Burns enabled off, just touch that, or check what the start is and check what the end is. And it may not be very drastic, but sometimes it actually cuts your person off that you're trying to show in there. So you want to be careful of that part of it. So that's how easy it is to put the pictures in. These little symbols in between the pictures are called transitions, and those are automatically in based on the template that you chose. If I go back to this initial picture that was my black background, I'm going to take my Ken Burns enabled off because I don't want that picture to move at all, because I'm going to put a title on it. And if you look at the bottom of my screen, there are some choices down there that say action, speed, volume, titles, filters. So I can go to titles and I can choose the kind of title that I want for this. So I'm going to choose pop-up. So when I see this text up here, I need to obviously change that where it says title text here. So I'm going to tap this, and then I'm going to hold my finger on my screen, and it's going to give me the choices select, select all, and paste. So if I choose select all, then you notice it's all highlighted, and I could choose the cut, or I can just start typing right now. So I want to call my project here Kid President. If I wanted to move this, I don't have a whole lot of choices. I can choose center, but I can also choose lower, and that's going to put it on the bottom of the screen. And for this particular case, I want it to be center, so I'm going to leave it bigger on there. So I can change my title if I decided I didn't want this one. I could change it to something different. Now, it is possible to put a title right on a picture too, so if you wanted to do that, you certainly could. You just click on the picture, choose your title, type in your words, and then just again make sure it's not distracting from the actual picture if you need them to see it. Now, if you would get a picture in that you didn't want, you could simply select the picture, and then the garbage can shows up in the lower right hand corner, and you could delete that picture. It's also possible to put in a picture more than once, so that if you had something you were talking about and then you talked about it again later, you could put in the same picture more than once. You would just drag it down from the top. Now let's talk about the recording part of this. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. So I'm going to press the microphone next to the camera. And when I press that, it's going to tell me that it's ready to record. Now, before I actually start recording, I want to give you a couple of hints. First of all, try to have your iPad in a sitting position rather than holding on to it. I found that even slight movements of the iPad can be picked up by this powerful microphone. Also, the same with your paper. If you're reading from a paper, if you move the paper, it's going to be picked up by the microphone too. And I'm actually doing that right now, and you may be able to hear that. So you're going to push the record button, and then it's going to count down. If I gave you the name Robbie Novak, or even the hint of an energetic 12-year-old, you may not know who I'm talking about. However, if I said Kid President, you most likely would know exactly who Robbie Novak is. In July of 2012, Robbie and his brother-in-law Brad posted their first video. It had 200 views. Their second video had 2,000 views. Their most popular video, a pep talk from Kid President to you, has been viewed 32 million times. Amazing. So you simply hit stop when you're done, and then you can start over again by pushing retake. You can listen to it, see how you did, and if you want to retake it, or you can accept it. And I'm going to push accept on there. Now I'm going to also give you a hint, and I didn't demonstrate that this time in my recording, but if you make a major mistake, you totally fumble on a word, it's okay to just pause and then start that word again and keep going, because you can edit that out of there. Now your screen may look a little bit different than mine. This bar on the bottom may not have this line. Over on the right hand side there's this little squiggly line. It's like a sound wave, and if I turn that on or off, I can actually see where my voice is on there. And then I could hit the play button, and as I play it back, I can be listening to where things are on my movie and adjust the length of things. So for right now, the items I have on here go longer than my recording, so I can shorten things up a little bit, and then I may want to pay attention to what's being said at which time, so that maybe I adjust the pictures to match what's being said. If you wanted some credits at the end, you could add a picture at the end, and you could add your titles into that. Simply select the picture, you could add some titles, and you could add some credits as to give yourself credit, or maybe where your information came from, where your pictures came from, that kind of thing. If you're happy with how your product has resulted, then you can finish it up. And you do that, if I'm going to go up to the upper left hand corner, I'm going to hit done up here. If I completely leave iMovie and go back in and I want to make changes to it, I can just select my movie, and then it's not showing up on my screen there where you are, but there's an edit button, and I can push that and I can go back in and edit my particular movie that I have. Now, this last part is not showing up on the screen there, but when I am out of my movie, at the bottom there is a little share button. There's actually a play button, a share button, and a delete button. And when I hit the share, there's a save video, and then I can choose how I want to save that. And most likely you want to keep it fairly small, like medium or large. That's sort of the choices that come up. And if I choose that, then it's going to start exporting that movie for me. Once your movie is exported, you should be able to find it in your photos as part of one of your videos. Now, if you notice, I have several in mind because I exported several different times. At this point, you need to determine from your teacher how you're going to share this video with your teacher. So it could be that you airdrop the movie to your teacher, or it could be that you upload it to Google Drive and then share it with your teacher in that way. That will be up for your teacher to decide on how they want to receive your video. But remember, you need to go through this sharing process to finalize your video so it can actually be shared with your teacher.